You're listening to Chillworthy,
a podcast where two best friends discuss mysteries, murders, and anything in between for your enjoyment.
So if you're ready to hear some chilling and unsettling cases, you're in the right place. Happy listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chillworthy with Brent and Talia.
Hi, chillers.
Talia, how has your week been?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. How's yours?
All right.
Yeah, we are solidly in the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you in terms of, let me get my list out, Christmas movies. Let me see here. Here we go. What are your favorites? We've already discussed Home Alone and Home Alone 2 on here. You like 2 better than 1.
Absolutely, and I still stand by it.
Right. I adore 1, like 2. What are your thoughts on the Santa Clauses?
I mean, I stopped after the second one.
Same.
So, like, and I do feel like, I mean, I like Martin Short, and I know he plays Jack Frost in one of them as, like, stealing Christmas from Santa. So, like, I feel like that would be something I could be, like, persuaded to watch, but I don't know. The Santa Clauses are fine. I mean, I think the original was very cute.
Oh, my gosh, I loved it.
You know, and it's, like, cozy, but there's not a draw for me there.
Yeah.
So.
Elf. You don't?
It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I over the years it has grown on me more than when I originally saw it. Will Ferrell, I just don't always, you know, his humor, it's just not always up my alley.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic, and I
okay.
do like that movie.
So,
but I get what you're saying.
Now, and I know here we are like being opposites with this, but Jim Carrey's The Grinch, I absolutely love.
Never seen it, never want to see it.
Well, see, that's so stupid. I would respect it if you said you saw it and you wouldn't see it again.
You're right. I agree with you.
Well, then done. It's such a, like, he does such a good job, and I don't know, the little, like, the set and everything about, like, Whoville is super cozy, and the little dog, he is very similar to Marmalade, like, the kind of dog, you know, the long, cutie ears and all that stuff. So, like, I love it.
And you do like the original Grinch? Love it, like it? And
it's fine.
Yeah. What about Miracle on 34th Street 90s version when we were kids?
I don't even know if I know the 90s version.
Wilma from the Flintstones is the mother. Matilda is the little girl in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you if I've ever seen it fully through.
Goodness gracious. All right. I believe we've talked about this before. I'm obsessed with it. Pretty sure you've never even seen it. Not on your radar. If so, you don't love it. White Christmas from like the 40s. Yeah.
No.
I have been obsessed with that movie since I was a child. My grandmother introduced me to it, and there is so much dancing. There's a lot of singing in it as well, which those are some of my favorite parts, but oh my God, I love the dancing.
I think you have shared this with me and the chillers.
Yeah. Oh, have I?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's nice.
I don't remember. I think it was 1 or 2 episodes ago.
Shit.
You did mention that.
Okay. And I twirled around the living room. Did I say that? Oh, wow. Goodness.
Yes. one of the staple ones that, like, my family and I used to watch was one of those claymation ones. I mean, so, like, gosh. Rudolph, I always loved, but, like, I don't go back to it every year. But, I mean, I think it's adorable and whatever. But The Year Without a Santa Claus was always a big one in our home. Especially, like, with Snow Miser and Heat Miser. You know, like that, I don't know, that one just always stands out to me as one of the big claymation ones that we go back to.
Yeah. That was a whole conversation this past Thanksgiving with my family. And Ashley loves the claymation. And I do not share those sentiments. Yeah. Not ever my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I can't stand Heat Miser in the slightest. Like, I can't stand that man. But he's part of the movie, so what can I do?
Right. What about, well, no, you've already talked about A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
This one is a big one in my family. Ashley also likes it. I feel like you do not care for it. Love Actually.
I wouldn't even know that was a Christmas movie.
Okay.
So no. No.
All right.
So what is your top one then?
Oh, it's very close. Well, it's really apples and oranges, though. I can't even say that it's close. It's just I can't even speak. It has to be two number ones of White Christmas and Home Alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they are very different.
Oh my gosh, yes. Temperatures have really plummeted around here, and it feels like legit winter.
I took my hoses in because I've made that mistake before.
Oh, shit.
So I did that just because nothing needs to be watered anymore, in my opinion. And yes, we are back inside, everyone.
Oh, goodness. We couldn't bear to be out there at length.
It's really, really cold out.
Just walking the dogs. I mean, my hands are becoming more and more sensitive every year in the cold, but oh my gosh, they hurt so bad. And I've got the gloves on, man. I got them. Mm-hmm. And it is, I mean, I love walking them in the winter because of how exhilarating it is, but I feel like in terms of staying out for long periods of time.
I love my heated vest.
Oh, I forgot you have that.
I mean, I have never, I think I've said to you before, I don't mind the cold weather, but I will say, as I get older, I appreciate being warm in the cold weather. You know what I mean? I enjoy being bundled up much more than when I was a kid.
Agree about that.
And, it was just this is life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So with that heated vest, it's the thing about it, though, is it is a little dumb that it's just a vest. And that's what I opted for. It's great for October and early November when it's maybe it's a little chilly and you want to turn it on, or it's getting to be nighttime and the temperatures are going down. But when you're in December, it's cold all the time. And the idea of you have a vest, which means you're probably going to need to put a jacket on over it. What's the point then?
Right. Well, a thick sweatshirt underneath, I suppose.
Yeah.
I love bundling. I agree with you. The older that I get, I definitely enjoy that. And walking them outside, I'm fine except for my hands. Because I have I layer, I have a heavy coat, I wear my heavy hat, scarf, the whole shebang, obviously the gloves. But I don't really feel it except for my legs and my hands. Maybe I need some heated pants.
I'm sure they make them.
I guess, yeah. Are you, I feel like I know the answer to this. I was going to say, are you excited for the first snow?
Not really.
Right. I am.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but...
Right. I mean, I don't really want to shovel, but
no.
I'm still excited for it.
So, we have one other thing, I guess, to talk about before we get into the mini-sode. We discovered that we both read the same book and had different reactions to it,
oh my gosh, it was
I guess.
so lovely. I think it was beautiful how it all came together.
Well, you take it away then.
Thank you.
Sure.
We were on the phone and we were talking, and I think, talking about, because I finished The Ramblers. I was telling you that I finished it. And I had mentioned that on a recent episode here, and it was 3 characters in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
They were all kind of connected as friends, sort of. Well, not sort of. They were friends. But it's Thanksgiving week, and then there's also a wedding that takes place. And I loved this book. Nothing crazy happened, but I did love it. I would definitely recommend it. So while I'm saying all of this to Brent, he said, oh, I just finished one. I said, oh, did you? I was, super excited. And I think I've mentioned this before, how it's hard for me to usually remember titles of books I've read, authors. Usually just forget it. I can't retain any of that for some reason. So Brent says he finished this book, and he said, yeah, it's called, These Silent Woods. I said, oh my God, I'm pretty sure I read that one. And he's like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, I think the author, I think it's Kim Cunningham Grant, Kimmy Cunningham, something like that. Yep, that's the one. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite books. I was so moved by it. Do you want to share your thoughts?
I just thought, what a waste of time.
I said, I literally just bought this for somebody as a gift. Oh my gosh, it's crazy how different our perspectives on it are.
I agree.
I think, though, if you think of how the type of books you normally like genre-wise, I see how this, to me, it was full of mystery. I couldn't put it down. I couldn't wait to see what happened. But I wouldn't say it was like excitement level like you're used to.
That's for damn sure.
Horror, and like some of your psychological thrillers are like heavy duty. So it's not like that.
No.
But
so yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not my kind of book, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
I freaking loved it. Well, and speaking of that, you said then you also listened to the other one.
And who did you say the author was?
Frida McFadden.
Yeah, that one, I mean, I'm not saying it was the best book I ever read by any means, but that's more of the pace that I'm used to. I mean, it wasn't a horror book by any means.
No, psychological thriller.
Right. It was fast paced. It was like, like it kept my interest throughout the whole thing. Where, These Silent Woods, I kept thinking, well, there's going to be a payoff here somewhere. And in my opinion, there wasn't.
I was going to say there sure was.
So.
Oh, I loved that book. Yeah. Did you read anything by Lucy Foley? I believe her name is.
Like The Hunting Lodge or
yes,
whatever? I don't think I read it. But
The Hunting Party. Yeah,
something like that. I only recognize her name, but I don't think I've read anything by her.
So I read The Hunting Party, absolutely loved it. Then I read, it's something about an apartment in Paris. That might actually be the title.
The Paris Apartment, I think.
Is that what it's called?
I think.
Okay. Yes, you're right. The Paris Apartment. Okay, so Hunting Party I loved. Paris Apartment, not so much. Didn't really care for that. The Midnight Feast is the new one that she came out with. I have not read that. Did you? It has the lanterns on the front. And then what just became available through the library, like through the Libby app, is the guest list, which is about a wedding that's taking place in Ireland and they lose power. Things start happening. I literally just started it last night, so I'm only a few pages in, but I'm excited for that mystery.
Okay. Well, the last thing I'll say before we start is I started yet a third book.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Much more my speed.
Oh, that means
meaning the teacher was good. Now we're staying with good. This is horror movie by Paul Tremblay, who did The Cabin at the End of the World.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like the genre of like a cursed film. Like, of course, they're going back and forth again.
You don't like that.
Not really, but it's like the original cast who was in this horror movie that was being made. Like, from what I'm gathering, only one person is still around from that original cast. And so they're making a remake and they're asking him to come back and play a role because it's kind of like a cult classic now. But like, something's not right with this horror movie / the things that go on in it. But I'm not too far in to like know, but and I'm listening to the audiobook and they're doing it's multiple voices. It's not just one narrator. So it's basically like a movie in your head. You know what I mean? Like it's just
sounds complicated.
It really isn't though. As you're listening to it, it's fine. But I'm just saying there's women narrating women parts, men narrating male parts. And they when they're doing the screen readings, which are part of the book, the voice actors will mess up a line or two as if it was real.
Oh, that's nice.
I definitely like it. They'll be well, what are you talking? I mean, where are you going? That kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think it's fun.
That is a nice touch.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here. We're gathered here today because our unofficial mascot, DB Cooper, ironically, there's been an update on him.
Talk about crazy timing.
Right. Very, very odd, but we were alerted to this, a week after we recorded that episode?
I think
around there.
Yeah.
So, Talia, take it away.
All righty. So in the episode that I did of the DB Cooper suspects, I rehashed the DB Cooper case in case anyone missed it. I'm not going to do that for a second time, but I do want to give a little recap of my suspect episode with who this is about. So the break in the case that was, released this week is about Richard McCoy Jr., who I did talk about in the suspect episode. So I went back to my notes, and I'm going to just do a little recap on him and then get into the actual update.
Because, I don't even remember. Yeah. I mean, there were a lot that we talked about, so.
The thing with him was that he did successfully do one of the hijackings.
Oh, the copycat one later on.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, which there were several, but he, did a pretty good job.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, then I do remember. Okay.
Yeah. So he had been an Army veteran. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. And one of his roles was in the Green Berets as a helicopter pilot. After his military service, he was an avid recreational skydiver, and he wanted to become a Utah State Trooper. So on April 7th, 1972, he staged the best known of the copycat hijackings since the D.B. Cooper hijacking. He went on a United Airlines flight. It had those aft stairs that D.B. Cooper used in his hijacking.
Right.
This took off
before they instituted the lock.
That is correct.
The mechanism.
Yes, that I can't think of the name of. Correct. So the plane took off from Denver, Colorado. He had what he threatened as a hand grenade that was actually a paperweight and an unloaded gun. And he wanted 4 parachutes and $500,000. After they landed at San Francisco International Airport, he had his money and parachutes delivered. He ordered that the aircraft go back into the sky, which it did successfully, and then he jumped in Provo, Utah. He left behind handwritten hijacking instructions, and his fingerprints were on a magazine that he had been reading that was in the seat. So on April 9th, he was arrested. He had the ransom cash in his possession, and he did go to trial, and he was convicted, and he received a 45-year sentence.
Wow.
This was the man that I told you then escaped, and he stole the truck and drove it right through.
Yeah.
This was in Pennsylvania, and it's called the Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary. He did have several accomplices, so he wasn't acting alone, but they crashed the garbage truck through the main gate of the prison. Then he was discovered 3 months later in Virginia Beach, and he was killed in a shootout with the FBI.
Oh.
So there were, obvious similarities between D.B. Cooper's hijacking and this one. There were members of his family who said that the tie that was left in the plane, in the D.B. Cooper plane, and the mother of pearl tie clip claimed that they were McCoy's. And McCoy also, I guess, had been directly questioned. Like, he was on the FBI's radar of
suspects.
Thank you. Possible suspects for that. And he wouldn't confirm or deny. He was very kind of elusive about talking about it. The thing now, in the last episode, I had said that they pretty much ruled him out because description, which I want to talk about that in a little bit in more detail, but descriptions were off and age was off. This man was believed to be D.B. Cooper in his 40s, while McCoy at the time would have been in his late 20s. So that was a definite inconsistency. Oh. The FBI also felt that McCoy's knowledge of skydiving was way more in depth than D.B. Cooper, whoever that man was. They did not feel that he had much knowledge of skydiving. So that didn't match. Now, in terms of his location, though, supposedly on the day of the Portland hijacking, he was in Las Vegas, at home in Utah the following day, having Thanksgiving dinner with his family. So I think it's important with what I'm going to say later on with this new article, how the family obviously vouched for him. I think specifically his wife, like he was here having Thanksgiving with us. So just keep that in mind. What I will say throws me is what I said earlier about the description and how I wanted to get back to it. All 3 flight attendants from the D.B. Cooper hijacking were shown photographs of McCoy, and they all said they did not think he bared a resemblance, that was not their hijacker. They were even pointing out specific differences in the 2 men. They felt that D.B. Cooper's nose wasn't as broad as McCoy's. They thought Cooper had more hair than McCoy. And they also thought that Cooper's ears did not protrude as much as McCoy's. So specific things that really stood out to them, multiple facial features like that, those women they spent how much time with him?
I was going to say, it wasn't like a bank robbery where they ran in, ran out. Like this was
they had multiple
hours.
Multiple conversations, sitting next to him in the row. Like there was a lot of interaction. So I don't know. The man, the ticket agent who sold the ticket to DB Cooper, and the gate agent, as well as passenger Bill Mitchell, who was seated closest to DB Cooper on the plane, all said the same thing, that they did not think that there was much of a resemblance. So I don't know. That stands out to me, you know?
Well, it certainly does.
Yeah.
I'd like to, though, compare it to what's going on, because I don't know. I didn't read the article.
I sent it to you.
Right. Well, I didn't read it.
All right.
I'm relying on you to accurately tell me what's going on here, because it was your case.
It sure was. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm not trying to step on your toes.
Right. Well, I'm basically going to paraphrase from an article. Okay. The article that popped up.
Where's the article from?
Yahoo News. And
I thought you were saying, yeah.
Bet you sure. That's a Golden Girls reference. Oh, and by the way, this is another example of, in the Suspects episode that I did, how we kept saying like, oh my gosh, here's another person where the minute that they're dead, the family is throwing these poor people under a bus. And that's basically what happened with this now. So the children of convicted skyjacker Richard McCoy II believed that their dad was DB Cooper. Just months after, they're just kind of recapping, months after the DB Cooper incident, he was convicted of a very similar hijacking. So his children, Shantae and Richard III, who goes by Rick, feel that they have evidence that was found. They're saying that they kept quiet all these years because they felt that their mother was potentially complicit in these crimes, in the first hijacking, if it was him with DB Cooper, and then the second one that he was convicted as
so
himself.
So the mother's no longer around either?
She passed away, correct, and that's why they're now coming forward. Mm-hmm. There was a modified parachute that they believe was used in his first escape. There's also a sleuth, like an amateur sleuth, Dan Greider, who the family has been in touch with, and he is now releasing all these things on his YouTube channel. I guess he has a whole series on there about his suspicions. Oh. And he feels that this parachute rig is, quote, literally 1 in a billion.
My. My.
So according to this amateur sleuth, the FBI now has the parachute and the harness that were once tucked away in a storage shed on the McCoy family property in North Carolina, along with a harness and a skydiving logbook that Shantae claims shows DB Cooper's movements near Oregon and Utah, which were the two locations of the skyjacking events. Mm-hmm. So this is the first real movement from the FBI on the case since the Bureau closed it in 2016.
Right, don't they feel foolish? They kept it open this long.
Well, and so some former FBI personnel claim that it never closed, that they secretly
I see.
kept it open. So
yeah.
So after receiving the new evidence, the FBI followed up with the family and also searched the property. And they searched for 4 hours on the family compound. Well, I don't know if it was a compound exactly, but whatever all
property
was. So remember how the unique alterations that were made to the parachute that DB Cooper wanted, and also what they did without him knowing about it? Do you remember that? And he was like, I'm just going to use this to hold the money then, because they messed around with it.
Right. I remember they were doing something, and you said like they were almost, like they could have almost killed the man because...
Yes, exactly. So the FBI knows that the original parachutes were altered by Earl Cossey. Remember I told you he was killed in his house. He was in his 80s, and I said, who's going to come after...
Right.
So obviously they felt that there was no connection between what happened with DB Cooper and Earl's murder, like just very unfortunate circumstances. But because the parachutes were altered, that's where they feel like there's like that's going to hold so much now, and that they've discovered these parachutes on the property and that they are visibly so unique.
Right, because who else is doing that?
Exactly. Correct. So... You know, the other thing, obviously, I had mentioned before about the pieces of evidence, the tie and the tie clip. apparently, I didn't know this, amateur sleuths have sued the government for access to the DNA and the particles that were left on the tie, but they've been unsuccessful. I didn't know they were fighting that hard for the DNA to be outed. So that's pretty much it for now. I guess we'll see what happens in terms of what they find, if anything, on these parachutes. Also, if they disclose anything about what they find. And it just goes into, again, they didn't feel that, McCoy, like that there were some, not even differing accounts, like several accounts of people saying physical descriptions did not match between what McCoy looked like and what DB Cooper supposedly looked like. And then how many eyewitnesses there were. It wasn't like it was just one or two people. They spent significant time with him. DB Cooper, I mean. And then also the original estimation of DB Cooper's age was mid-40s. McCoy at the time would have been 27. So that was another thing that didn't match.
When this originally happened with him.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was there not an announcement, but was like there details given on exactly how the parachute was
sewn, ripped apart, remade?
Because I'm just thinking, like you said, this guy was a literal copycat. So like, could he, if he had the information on how the parachute had been reconstituted, I'm just kind of wondering if like he would have just wanted a parachute that was, like if he was like a fan, you know what I mean?
True. And tried to replicate.
Right. Like, yeah. But again, that obviously that would have needed to be released to the public on exactly what they did, which I feel like is probably not the case.
Well, right. Because if you are actually DB Cooper, I'm thinking, get the hell rid of it. You don't want to be caught with that. You don't want them to know that it's you. On the other hand, it is essentially a trophy for him to know, even though if it's him, that he got caught as the copycat, they still don't know who DB Cooper is. So what a little feather in his cap that is. And then he has the parachute on the property. Somehow, I don't know, he's saved it this whole time. And then if the wife knew about it, I don't know. I mean, it still doesn't explain the money, though. Well, I guess he lost it in the water. Who knows? Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. If it is him, especially now that the wife is also gone, like, we're still not going to know a lot of stuff. We're still not going to know what exactly went down. Where did he land? What happened when he landed? Obviously, he survived. What happened from this day to this day? Did you make it for Thanksgiving? I don't know.
Right. Well, and unless they took a detailed account / detailed pictures of how I don't know what the word is that I keep looking for with this parachute, how they remade this parachute. I mean, because if they had a detailed account, maybe they could compare it right to this parachute. But the people who did it are long passed away at this point. So it's like they can't look and say, oh, yeah, this was my work.
True. Like Earl, who was killed.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't know, but
I would like to think that when DB Cooper made those demands and they were preparing everything, that the FBI would have had a detailed account of exactly what you said, of like, what they did to this parachute, what the details were, what color thread it was. I don't know.
They didn't have the option of throwing in an air tag. Which would have been super convenient for all involved.
Right.
Well, thank you for the update.
You're very welcome. I was very delighted when I saw it. And then also, obviously, these aren't just like rando strangers. It's family and friends who reached out this week also who saw the article.
Right.
Your mother was one of them. God love her. That delighted me. It warmed my heart. It was very nice. But yeah, the timing of this, when I just did that case, is crazy. Like, it's so crazy, but very exciting.
So crazy.
It is. It's wild.
All right. Well, chillers, hope you enjoyed this relatively brief update.
Pretty brief for me. Absolutely.
So, we wish you a lovely day. And we'll talk to you in the next episode.
Absolutely.
And as always,
stay safe.
And stay chill.
Bye.
Bye. You've just listened to Chillworthy. Thank you for joining us on this latest episode. While we strive to keep our discussions engaging and lighthearted, we also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the real lives and events that are at the heart of these stories.
We try to approach each topic with a sense of curiosity and respect, fully aware of the impact these events have had on the individuals and their loved ones. Our goal is to honor their memories by keeping their stories alive and shedding light on the mysteries that surround them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and don't forget to join us on the next episode of Chillworthy.